Welcome to this lecture. So we have already covered interesting part in the previous lecture. We are still in this server section. We haven't even touched in the client section, but client is more easier than the server section, but we'll also have to do something on the server section, or basically to execute the command or to send the command in a such way that client will execute it. So before that, you could see in the previous lecture in the multi-threading part, I have given a comment over here. So you could see we just created the thread in the work section. You could clearly see it is doing by fetching the content of the queue, and in here in the second part we have just on comment, or basically we have just commented out this main menu in the previous lecture because we haven't created this one. So let's create this. So main menu is basically going to give us the idea or a clarity to the user that what they want to execute on the client. So before multi-threading, okay, let me just create over here. So first of all, before just creating that main menu, let me just give some messages to the user in the form of this menu help method. So what am I going to do over here is I'll just print some messages, that is a random messages saying, first of all, let me say this will be your help. So this will just give more clarity to the user what they want to execute. Basically you can see first this will give the help for the users. So first command we want to give to the user will be this yell command. So this will list all our connections. Okay, our connections. So this will be the command to list our all connections. So first of all, we won't interact with the connections, yet we have to list all the connection that is connected with the server. So first of all, we'll just give this menu help. So now let's create that main menu what we are going to execute in this work. So let's define that. So I'll just say main menu. So as soon as you make that menu, it should remove you error from here. So let's go in that main menu again. So where is that? Okay, so in this main menu, first of all, as always, we have to make this infinite loop because we want the user to execute multiple commands within this application. So let me get some user input first, what they want to just execute. So I'll just say string choice, and you know how to just input from this input method, and I'll just concatenate it with this new line command. And now let's see what we are going to do is, okay, make something like this. So this will make more sense because we want to execute the command. So this looks something like ideally. So if I just say ideally, if I hit enter, and then basically this will be something that will just give more clarity to user that they want to, or they have to just press their command after this arrow. So we have just printed that arrow over here. So now next thing what you need to do is we have to check what is this string choice. So I'll just say string choice if that string choice that is entered by the user is the command that is this yell. So we are going to do something over here, and that is maybe list connections. So this will be our list connection method that will be called. And the next thing is I want to also make here is to close the connections. So let's say, let's go over here again in this part, and it should be over here. Let me give the tab, and now if I say elif, the string choice that the user had entered is maybe this yux. Let me just give this yux option. If this is the choice, then what you're gonna do is we'll just say close. We haven't created this to method, so I'll just say close, and I'll just break out of it. So this break will just continue to work with the work function, or basically if you see down here we have made this work function, but if you just break from this loop, that work will be called. So let's go back. So this will be the two options for this main menu. So let's go over here and let's do something else over here. So now let me go over here and put another one, maybe else part. So if they press something that is invalid, we have to give some message to the user saying print that is invalid choice and please try again. So this will be user, and we have to call this menu help because we want to give this menu help to the user saying, okay, you have entered the wrong command, just press this command in order to list all your connections. So you can do that. So next thing what you need to do is now make these two methods. So first method I want to make over here will be obviously this close method. So let's start making this close method. So basically what this does is close your connection. So let's make it over here, and you can simply uncomment this out from here. So now in this close method, first of all let me make the globals, and that will be your array connection and your array of addresses, which will just capture from the connection. So after you do that, we have to check if the addresses is empty or not. That means if there is a computer that is connected or not. So I'll just say array of addresses is maybe 0 or not. If it is 0, we'll simply return because there is no connection. There is no connection of a computer. That means we'll just return. We won't do anything because there is no connection. Why to close? So next thing, if there is a connection and if this is the method that is called, then we have to now do something else. We'll just say that get the connection and the counter from this connection, that is arrays connection, because we can have multiple connections within this. So we have to now first enumerate to this connection with this enumerate method. So first of all I'll just get that array connection that is connected with this server. Let's get that, and after that I want to send now, that is the string and encode, and okay, this is str string, and we have to first encode this. So in order to encode, what you're gonna do is we'll just say exit is the method that is going to be sent to the client. So we are just sending this message, that is exit message, to that cmd shell, or basically which the terminal Python code will be running. So next thing what I want to do is I want to connect, or basically close this connection. So I'll just say close. So this will be the close connection. So let's go over here, and yes, that will be our close connection. So next thing what you need to do is basically we have just sent this connection from here, so we are just closing the connection that is basically based on these connections that we accept from the client. So next thing is to delete everything. So we'll just delete array connections. We'll also delete maybe array of connections, and after that we'll just say this should be empty. So I have told you that before, this is the way to just make two statement in a one line. So you can give that was one semicolon in order to indicate that this is the end of one statement and this is the another statement. You can do in the ideally too to check if this works or not. It will perfectly work, and I have shown you this in the basic section of a Python programming. You can check in the variable section where I have shown you how to declare this variable like this way. So next thing is I'll just say array addresses should be also cleared, and this should be also now empty list, because we have created that list over here with the socket exception. We'll just add that connections, and if this close method is called, we'll just make that empty again. So we have now made our close connection, or basically the close method. The next method is important method, and that is our list connection method. So we'll see what are the list of connections that is connected to this system or a server. Let me just uncomment this out because we want to get that connections. So okay, I think I've got too far away here. So I'll just say list connections, and this will be the method. Let's see. Yes, this is the list connections. So here what you need to do is we have to check if there is any connection or not first. So in order to check, we have the length command. We'll just check array connections, that is basically connections which is accepted by this client or basically by this server. And if it is the case, I'll just make string clients, and for now it will be just an empty string, and we'll just add something to it if we get the array connections. So let's loop again in this array connection. So in order to loop, what am I going to do is, so basically it should be inside here. So I'll just say int counter again, and the next one will be the connection in enumerate again, because this is the list. We can just iterate in this list. So that is your array connection. So we have created this array connection as a list in the previous lecture, and we'll just iterate over here. So what we are going to get the informations in this list connection command is, so first of all we want to get maybe the ID name, we want to get the port name, we want to get the PC name and the OS. So what the OS the client is using. So let's get all of that message. So before that, I want to just get this string clients and add all the information to here. And first thing I want to do is the counter. So counter is basically the random number, so it will assign from 0 to 3. So we'll just make now the counter, and let's add this counter should be now added. Let me say 4 asterisk, and let me just say something like this. So what we just did over here, so if you see in the ideally, let me say in the ideally, if I do something like 4 multiplied by these empty strings, then it is going to give us the 4 spaces. So basically I'm just creating these spaces between each of these attributes. So the next thing is I want to just get the information of the addresses, which will be the IP addresses of that machine. So it will be, okay, it is array addresses, not IP. It is array addresses, or basically this is the IP addresses, but in the basically this is the client IP addresses. But if you see in this array addresses, there will be the 2 addresses. It will be something like of the server and the client, but we want only the client, because in the list connection we don't want the server IP address, we want only the client IP address. So we have to get this IT counter, or basically the counter, and after that 0 represents that it is for our client. So let's add again this 4 star, or basically these 4 spaces in between them again. Let me say spaces again. So next thing what I want to do is let me just give more spaces. Okay, so next thing is to just give this 1 forward slash. So if you just remember what we used to do in the ideally was, if I have some command like maybe 1 2 and maybe this add 3, and if you want the multi-line comment, you can simply do this like this way. You can simply pass this backward slash, go over here, and again you can simply add your numbers and go over here. And if I just hit enter now, you could see we have executed the multi-line comment. So you can do same in the PyCharm too. So instead of just writing in a 1 line, which will be long over here, I'm just writing this backward slash, and now I'll just go down and I'll just execute my command. So the next thing I want to get from this is the addresses. So next addresses I want to get is maybe the port name. So what if I just want the port name, then I'll just say again that is it should be typecasted to string, and it should be inside this array addresses. And the next thing I want to get is in the counter, which represents that this counter is basically to represent that it is the particular PC, because we can have the multiple connections and this counter is to the specific connections or to the specific PC. After we get that specific PC, I want that port name, and port name is inside this field in the array addresses. So next thing I want to do is again add these 4 spaces. Next thing I want to get is maybe I want the PC name. So PC name will be in the counter 3 or 2, now 2, because we have already added 0, 1, and the information, next information in this array address will be our PC name. So let's get that PC name too. So okay, so here I want to get the PC name. So PC name will be, again I want to get to the specific counter. Basically this is to represent that we are in the specific PC. After that I want to get the PC name which is in this list of 2, and after that let me just give again the spaces for and empty spaces, and let me again go down with this backward slash. Let's go down and let's now see the OS of that PC or the client. So in order to see the PC or basically the OS, which OS they are running, you have to again go to this array addresses. You have to just see the integer counter over here, and in integer counter we have to get this third element of the list in order to get that OS of the PC. So next thing is I want the new line. So we have completed our this statement, and this basically prints all of the information that is inside the array addresses, like port name, PC name, OS name, and the ID. So first one over here, which is this, will represents that this is the ID, and the second part over here will just show you the port name. The third here will show you the PC name, and the here will show you the OS. So let's go over here, and there is also IP. So first one over here is IP, and the second one is a port, and third one over here will be PC name, and the last one will be your OS, which is operating system that is installed. So let's go over here, and now let's print some information, because this will be just random. So before this we want to print some information like this is the OS and this is the IP. So let's give that information. So before that let me just make some lambda functions so as to just give some center alignment to that string. So here I'll just make another function with the name of center, because what this center does is this will just return your title centered around the string. So I'll just make again the lambda function. So to do that I'll just get the string that is to be centered, and basically the title too. I'll just get the 2 arguments to this function, and the things that we are going to do over here is with this f, and here this is basically a formatting. F is for the formatting, and now I want to give this double quote, and this means we're just using this to give the length to the string. So let me just write real quick over here. So I'm just getting the string, and after that I'm just formatting it to the center with this title. So first of all let me just go over here, and this is not closing right here, so that means I have to close one, and let me see, I have closed the string, and I have to give one more. Maybe I'll just give one more, and after that I have to now format. So I have to format this title in the center. So this is the way to just center your title. So let's go back to our print, and now let's add our statement that will going to just give us information about the IP addresses and the PC name, port name over here. So let me just say something that is new line should be given, and the first thing I want to give the information to the user is about ID. And let's get some spaces again. So you know how to give the spaces, that is add your number with the spaces over here. And now let's call this center method to give the center alignment to this title. So title here will be array addresses and 0, and that is again 0. So that means this is your IP addresses. So let's go over here, and let's pass that is the information. Okay, it should be IP. So what we just did here was we just center alignment. This is basically for your ID, so we just get the ID. Now let's add the center alignment for our IP address. So let's go over here, and now let's add again these 4 spaces or 3 spaces as you like, and let's now again go down and add our center alignment, which is obviously our function, which will just center our string. And now here I want to add maybe the string addresses, and if you see, this 0 represents the client, and the first thing I want to add is basically, you can see the string, or basically this is for the IP addresses. So the first one is the IP addresses. So let's do this real quick, because this is a simple thing. What we're just doing is just giving the information for the user about these things. So let me just give again these spaces, yet another spaces, and let's go down again because I want to give now PC name. So I'll just say again the center, and now it should be str, because we have to typecast it first. And here I'll again give the array addresses 0th and 2. And here what we're going to do is, this is basically for your PC name. So I'll say this is for PC name, this will be your PC name, and let's go back. Okay, so after you write your PC name, let me add again the 4 spaces. So we are just formatting. It is a simple thing over here. We are not doing any fancy thing. We are just using this center method, which will just center your alignment, and basically will just print every information we have gathered from that connections. And the last thing over here in this list will be your OS name, and let's type here that is your OS, and the information that I want to concatenate is with this /n. Let me say, if I this /n, and let's add this with our str clients. So this is your clients, and the next thing here will be, if you see here, we have something that is a ind parameter in the print. So we are not going to give /n to this ind. Instead, we are just writing everything in a single line. So if I show you that in ideally, and if I show you that if I say print and give this, it has this parameter over here saying ind is /n, which is obviously the default, but we are just overriding this /n with this single liner. Basically we are just saying that instead of just going to the next line, we'll just print everything in the single line. So that is your ind parameter over there in the print function. So we have completed this list connection. So next thing what you need to do is, if we don't have any connection, so what we're going to do, that will be in the else part, and I'll just print no connection. So that will be your no connection message to the user. So we have completed all of the things that we need to do in the case of this server. So in the next lecture we'll see about the client, and we'll just connect this and do some operations, that is making some backdoor operations and running some commands on the client. So see you in the next one.